When you play with snakes, called credit card companies, you will be bitten. That is what they count on, is you thinking, oh, hey, I'll just take out the credit card and then I'll never use it and I'll just get the 15%, so I beat the store up. And that's what they count on, you thinking. And then what happens is you wander in there and there's something on sale, you don't have any money, boom, you pull that credit card out, and before you know it, you've gone into debt. Stay away from signing up for credit cards for any reason.
The second thing is financing. They use money and easy payments as a marketing tool, don't they? Oh, don't think about how much, just think about how much down and how much a month. And no interest. It's all free. Everything's free. We're just going to give it to you just because we love you.
0% interest sounds like it is a good deal. It's kind of like the 90 days same as cash. There's no interest during that 90 days. But if you don't pay it off during that time, they back charge you through the whole time and going forward at a really high interest rate, usually 24, maybe as much as 38% interest. Do not play games with this stuff. These folks are using financial tools like credit cards and 90 days same as cash or 0% to draw you in and get you to buy their stuff. It's marketing. It's marketing. They're beating you at your game. Don't let them do that. Just say, no, thank you. I'm just looking.
You know, I got one of these out of the newspaper the other day. The average 4-color insert into a newspaper in a medium size, say around the 50 size city in North America today, a Nashville, a Charlotte, a Birmingham, and Austin, Texas, those size cities, if you were to put a 4-color insert like this in the average Sunday newspaper, that newspaper will charge you between $25,000 and $35,000 for putting it in there, just for sticking it in there and delivering it to your door is what they charge. And then, of course, the company, the furniture company, the electronics company, has to pay to have this printed, have the graphics laid out, lay out the whole game plan, have it looked at by legal, and then printed and sent and delivered. They pay the shipping over to the newspaper, and then they pay the newspaper to stick it in and deliver it. So there's tens of thousands of dollars involved in getting this in your house. And yet I open this thing up and it says, no interest until 2012. They're going to give me free money. And in case I missed that, every page I open up, it says no interest until 2012. Across the back, no interest until 2012. Every page, it's the predominant graphic on every page. No interest until 2012 on your furniture. So that means if I go over there, there's no interest until 2012. They're giving me free money. How naive are you? Do you think that possibly the cost of the money, because money costs to borrow it, doesn't it? This money's sitting somewhere. They didn't get the money for free. If they're using a bank's money, they are being charged interest for that money. That's what banks do. So who's eating the interest? Must be built into the cost of the furniture. Just a thought. Think.
90 days same as cash means as if I was to get 90 days same as cash without interest.
I believe it means you can pay in 90 days or you can pay cash, or it's the same as cash maybe.
That after 90 days you can have the same cash as you had the first day.
My goodness, aren't we naive? 90 days, same as cash. 90 days is not the same as cash. It's not the same as cash. Statistics tell us that 88% of these 90 days, same as cash contracts convert to payments, which are usually at about a 24%, sometimes a 38% APR. That means 9 out of 10 of you who think you've whipped up on this company, who built the cost of the interest to start with into your furniture, it's built into the profit margin, people, okay? Don't be naive. They don't spend $35,000 to give away money. Let's wake up. Let's think about what we're doing here.
I would never borrow money, period, for things like car stereos, things like an item that you think you are going to have the money for. You cannot predict the future perfectly. You may be ill. Someone in your family may have a car wreck and you're not able to work and get the rest of the money together. Then you've gotten caught in this trap of payments. You cannot predict the future. I'm not negative. I'm just 100% sure you don't know what's coming. So when you have the money, then you buy the stuff. If you don't have the money, don't buy the stuff.
And so you really have to be careful about this. The latest one, of course, that's been a big deal, huge marketing plus, has revitalized an entire industry. 0% car interest. Everybody went and bought a new car all of a sudden, and the car market was dying. And it drew people in like a moth into a flame, 0% debt. Now, C&W Market Research has found that only 1/3 of car buyers that hit the lot looking for a 0% interest deal qualify. And 91% of car buyers finance their new cars. So what this tells us is almost everyone finances their car when they hit a new car lot, and they go in looking for the 0, and 2 out of 3 times they don't get the 0, they get transferred off and are paying interest. But by then they're so far into the buying process that we emotionally don't put on the brakes, and we drive home with leather's toxic smell. And we feel good now because we got a new car. And we got sucked right in because, Dave, 0 interest. Who can beat 0 interest? I can beat 0 interest. If a car, as we've discussed in the debt lesson, is losing 70% of its value in the first 4 years, that's not 0%. It's going down in value like a rock. That's where Chevy got that, like a rock. Oh, if you think I'm picking on Chevy, it's found on the road depreciated for Ford, okay? They're all going down in value. There are no exceptions to that. That's how it works. Financing is a marketing tool.
I think marketing, commercials, and ads do work.
I think that marketing and advertising sometimes works, but it basically matters on the product.
Yes, because if you have a business that's just not have no advertising, nothing in the newspaper, TV, I mean, they might be making business, but not as much. If they have their name out on a sign or what they do, they'd probably bring in more money.
Of course, the straight up marketing stuff like television, radio, the internet, other media. And of course, that's where those of us in the business, I'm in the radio business, we use repetition. Well, Dave, this stuff doesn't work on me. I'm way too smart. I'm sophisticated. I know what they're doing. It doesn't have any effect on me. All right, let's get a little help here then. Help me with this. Bye, bye, Miss American. Bye. Drove my Chevy to the levee. But the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and dry. Shame on you. Don McLean, Miss American Pie, 1972. Things go better with Coca-Cola began in 1968. And still, decades later, this audience can finish the jingle. You deserve a... Who was it? 1971. Over 30 years ago, that was launched. Where's the beef? Yeah, 1985. And you remember the beef lady, Clara Peller? She died in 1987. Have it your way. 1973, revitalized here after the year 2000, and they brought it back as a retro ad campaign. Of course, interesting stuff. Here's the oldest, and everybody can do it. Still being used today, originated in 1954. Melts in your mouth. And who is it? Repetition doesn't work, does it? Marketing has no effect, does it? Everyone in here can sing that like it's a song. Absolutely incredible. Apparently those ad dollars are paying off. I saw a study the other day that said the average household now has more televisions than people. Kind of a scary thought if you think through the implications of this. Somewhere there are some dogs and cats being entertained. When it comes to marketing, they also use product positioning. Now, product positioning is a big deal. There's all kinds of aspects to this. One is brand recognition. Brand recognition is where they position a product in your mind as associated with a certain value. For instance, years ago, the first time that the generic products started hitting the market, there was a big ketchup war because your local grocery store would slap a generic brand on a ketchup bottle and put it on the shelf cheaper than Hunt's or Heinz. And I remember there was a commercial, some of you remember it 15, 20 years ago, where they would show the Hunt's or the Heinz ketchup, and it was thick and rich. And the generic ketchup was thin and runny and made in the same factory. Mercedes has done such a good job as positioning themselves in the consumer's mind as holding its value. Mercedes hold their value. You ought to look at the numbers if you think that's true. As a matter of fact, an interesting thing happened that didn't work in marketing was Cadillac back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, found that Cadillacs of a $50,000 level of Cadillac was holding its value statistically better than a corresponding Mercedes. When Cadillac studied this, knew it was true, but in the consumer's mind, a Cadillac went down and a Mercedes was just steady. Mercedes had planted that as a brand position in our minds. Cadillac spent $100 million buying advertisements trying to teach the consumer that it wasn't true and the ad campaign was a flop. Mercedes was so entrenched in the consumer psyche with the thing that holds its value, they'd done such a good job that everyone didn't believe the Cadillac ads. And they were true. At that period of time, I don't know what it is today, but at that period of time, Cadillac did hold its thing. We've got a new one going on. If you use Macs instead of using a PC, you're cool. PC people like me that don't use Macs can't stand the things. Don't want an Apple on my stuff. I'm a nerd. I'm undernourished. I don't know what's going on. My intellect hasn't kept up. But you people with spike hair, boy, you're cool. You're cool. You got it all together because you use an Apple. They've done a great job with that one. That is a fabulous marketing campaign. The iPod marketing campaign has been fabulous with those guys. They've associated their entire brand with coolness. Their entire brand is about you are cool if you're using their stuff. Young people, the younger the demographic, the more likely you are to go that direction. The older you are, the less you care about being cool. It's very interesting stuff. This stuff works. They spend a lot of money on it. Bottled water. I got a friend of mine that's very wealthy. He says, he thinks, you know, how some people call themselves a wine snob. He says he's a water snob. He spends money for this expensive water and he can tell the difference. No, he can't. I was getting ready to be on 2020 not long ago with John Stossel, and so to get ready to go meet John Stossel and hang out with him, I read a couple of his books. And it was really interesting. I wrote down the stuff out of one of the chapters because he's got that stuff, you know, he does where he studies consumer myths, right? And he did the bottled water myth. He got all the expensive waters out, and he got New York tap water. New York City tap water out. He took it all to a microbiologist. The microbiologist went through every one of them. He said there wasn't a spit difference in them. They were exactly the same. Maybe a little more fluoride in the tap water. That was it, which would be good for your teeth anyway. He says basically the same. And then they did blind taste test, and the most expensive water came in the worst. New York tap water came in third consistently. New York City tap water. And the cheap generic water, what are we saying? The cheaper generic water kept winning the taste test. My wife and I not long ago were in Oslo, Norway, and we really were cracking up. The guide took us into this store, and they had this bottled water in there. Of course, Oslo, Norway is up near the Arctic Circle, right? And so they've got this bottled water from glaciers. It's glacier water. Ooh. It says this water is 6 million years old. Turned it around, and on the back it said, used by September 30th. Is it any wonder that Evian spelled backwards is naive?